Hey everyone, and welcome to the Private Podcast, where we plug in and explore the intersection of privacy, human rights, technology, and democracy. I'm your host, Derek E. Silva. Today, joining me on the Private Podcast is Ty Smith, founder and CEO of Coinbound, the leading cryptocurrency marketing agency. He has been passionate about and investing in the Web3 space for a number of years. With his determination and strong belief in the power of crypto, he's achieved significant accolades in this nascent industry. And now, over to the conversation with Ty Smith. All right, and like I said, we have Ty Smith here from Coinbound joining us on the Private Podcast. Ty, thanks a lot for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Derek.
So let's start off with some of the basics. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your journey into crypto in general?
Yeah, sure. So I've been on the marketing side of things for basically ever, before I was even in the crypto world. Back in kind of the 2016 area, I had a buddy who was really into Ethereum, even before Bitcoin. And he was launching one of the earliest versions of a dApp. It was basically like a decentralized Napster.
Hmm.
Um,
No.
to enable this to actually take place, there was going to need to be some kind of decentralized form of payment. That just, won't go through the complexities of how the app is set up. But using US dollars was not going to be a realistic use of, a viable way of transacting on the app. So through the process of trying to like figure out from him how is this even going to be possible, is how I kind of was, shown Ethereum and smart contracts and really kind of started understanding the idea of decentralization and decentralized money. And from there, it just totally meshed with just, I guess, my opinions of how money should work, that people should be, self-sovereign regarding their own money. I love the capabilities that smart contracts had. It was super, at this stage, in 2020, people are pretty used to what smart contracts are possible. But imagine someone, a young kid at 2016, never heard of smart contracts. The idea was just mind blowing. So I got totally enthralled in it and just really kind of devoted myself to crypto essentially. And then from there, just through a number of different startups and business ideas and stuff that were based on the Web3 world, even before it was called Web3. Just got super involved in the community and I have built a career out of it.
That's terrific. So I guess you wanted to like actually dedicate your time then. You decided to like either pivot or start a whole new marketing agency around that. Like, did you have a full-time job and before and you started, decided to start your own thing? Like, how did that transition happen?
Yeah, so me and this friend who was building his dApp, he had that business, and then we started up another thing together, and we had even a third co-founder. The two of them were really on the dev side of things, while I was on the sales and marketing side, because that was my background and just where my proclivities are.
Yeah.
Um, and this is 2017 at this point. There was zero resources in existence on how to properly market a crypto company. There was not many crypto companies. The ones that were doing it were just kind of figuring it out on the fly. There was really no, again, playbook on how to actually grow a company, um, which was a challenge to someone in a CMO position at a crypto company. Um, Me coming from marketing background and marketing just kind of being in my blood, I said I can figure this out. This industry is going to be huge. There's going to be need to be someone who understands what it takes to grow a crypto brand, and grow communities and things like that. So I just started doing it essentially. Um, Once that startup with the co-founders kind of fizzled out, we basically were building like a Fiverr for crypto. It was actually pretty cool. We had
Mm.
four different currencies you can transact off chain and do different like kind of either bounty campaigns or freelance tasks. Once that kind of failed to find product market fit, I started doing things kind of on my own. Um, and still being totally wrapped up in this concept of like someone's got to write the crypto marketing playbook. All these companies are probably going through the same thing that I was going through, as far as not knowing who to turn to, how to grow their companies. So I wanted to be part of that to kind of usher in the next level of marketers in this industry. And that's how Coinbound was kind of born.
Terrific. Are you the sole co-founder or did you have a couple other people help you get this off the ground?
I mean, I definitely would say there's a lot of people that helped get off this ground, but I am, on paper, the founder. But yeah, I mean, our team has been awesome. We've gone through so many awesome people at Coinbound that have really kind of put us in a cool spot.
That's terrific. So, So like you said, so this was 2020 when you started Coinbound, or was that after?
We started Coinbound in 2018.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I
Yeah.
got the timeline mixed up. Okay, so so what is it actually meant to you to help crypto brands grow? Like you said yourself, you had to, start writing this marketing playbook essentially on your own because there wasn't really something in existence. And so how have you been helping crypto brands grow, and how does that differ from Web 2 or traditional industries, before crypto existed?
Yeah, sure. So Web3 marketing, and again, Web3 is still a relatively new concept, so it's not what we were calling it at the time. Um, it's different. Crypto companies in general have a problem communicating the value. They're typically very dev, especially the ones that are building something really cool, are very dev focused. They're not great at kind of communicating what is so unique about them. So it made a lot of sense to start a company that helped those companies kind of address those problems. I love working with companies that are dev focused because it's such a cool level of upside that that we can bring
Hmm.
to the table. Um, but as far as how it's different from Web 2, um, community is huge in Web 3. It's probably to an extent that no Web 2 company ever really existed. I think honestly, Web 2 companies will start, focusing on community learning from the Web 3 kind of playbook.
Yeah.
But just kind of understanding the audience is quite unique. The products that we work with are super innovative and super cutting edge and require someone that really understands the technology to be able to market them effectively. Um, Things like that. You have to kind of to be a marketer in crypto, you have to kind of understand the technical components as well,
Yeah.
to really do your job effectively. So that's kind of the insights that we bring to the table. And then, of course, crypto companies are unique in the sense that, there's token sales, there's exchanges, there's DeFi, there's NFTs. All those guys kind of run different playbooks, similar audiences for the most part, but different, playbooks that we go through. Um, so just kind of understanding what, an NFT marketing strategy has to look like versus a DeFi marketing strategy is the kind of stuff that a crypto agency does.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what are some of the brands you've actually, or projects? Because I think that's a common term we use. Have you
Yeah.
helped grow in the space?
Yeah, I've always hated the term projects, but it really is kind
Me
of the de
too.
facto
But
way of like, because you could be a $1 billion project, and I think
yeah,
that sounds kind of fun.
project
Um,
project with a corporation in the British Virgin Islands.
yeah,
Project.
yeah. But anyway, as far as brands that we've worked with, or companies that we've worked with, I'll say, we've seen a little bit of everything. We've worked with a lot of the blue chip names in the space. We've worked with like MetaMask and OKX, Shapeshift, Cosmos, Voyager. Um, a lot of cool companies. We've seen a little bit of everything regarding like all the different waves of crypto, from like token sales, which was huge, back in
Yeah.
2018 when we were first getting started, DeFi in 2021, and then NFTs for the past like 12 months, let's say. We've helped like 11 Miami with their NFT drop. Generative Dungeons was a cool company to work with. They're a really innovative like NFT platform that has like a playable component to their NFT if you're not familiar with
Hmm.
it. Um, yeah, a lot of cool companies.
Do you have like a favorite, or like one that like just did spectacularly well? Like we had these numbers and we exceeded them like crazy, and like that was a lot of fun, or like any happy stories that you want to share in
Uh,
particular?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know whose spot I am okay with kind of blowing up, I guess, but um I mean I love the team at Voyager. I'm sorry, at Shapeshift. The
Hmm.
eToro pretty cool. Um with the NFT products, we've had a lot of success as far as selling them out, which, when you're a marketing partner, hitting kind of the top capacity of sales is really what we're going for the most part.
Yeah.
In the past 6 months, we've sold out, I think, 6 or 7 different projects. Um, So, things like that.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. Like, I've seen a few. I've bought a few where like it's like there's 5,000, there's 10,000, and it looks like the community's huge. There's 20,000 people in the Discord, and who knows how many thousand followers on Twitter, and then the sale starts, and you're like, oh, it's stuck at like 3,000 out of the 5,000 sold,
Yeah.
or 3,000 out of the 10,000 sold, even worse. And you're like, okay, I mean this hopefully you're buying it for other reasons and you're not just like trying to flip it or something like that. But clipping here for some reason. There we go. um, and but I know from a project ownership, co-founder perspective, like that's a super frustrating place to be. And it's been interesting to see how they handle those sorts of things. I don't think I've been in any one of those communities where Coinbound has been a part of it, but yeah, it's definitely it's interesting to see how people try to pivot and eventually try to reach that goal. But certainly the sooner it sells out, the better. For if
Yeah.
when you're trying to start something like that, so that you have the funding to keep going down your roadmap. Um, cool. What do you think is the biggest misconception about crypto? Maybe this is from the traditional marketing or non Web3 marketing perspective, or maybe as you mentioned earlier, trying to educate people about um, how this all works and why it's valuable and things like that.
Yeah, I mean the biggest misconception I think is we still have this unfortunate reputation of being like an industry full of scammers, and there is some truth to that, but to kind of paint everyone with that brush is just incorrect. There's, maybe 90% of people have good intentions. Um, I'd say that's a pretty big hurdle for us as an industry. Um, Not necessarily a misconception, but I think that one of the biggest barriers for growth of the industry as a whole is just the poor UI of a lot of interfaces, the fact that you
Yeah.
have to go through, download a Chrome extension to interact with certain things without even understanding what a smart contract is too much for most people, for the average consumer. Um, I am happy though to see that over the past 6 months to a year, a lot of companies have been kind of hiding the Web3 infrastructure behind the scenes, which I think is a really nice trend. Even in their marketing copy, for example, instead of NFTs, we're seeing digital assets now in a lot of
Yeah.
places. Like Reddit, for example, is a great example of that. Um, Things like that.
Yeah, I think Reddit's been interesting. I was one of the, and I'm not trying to boast here. I was one of the first ones to get access to it because I'm a top Redditor or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
And as you're going through, it's very much like, okay, we're going to generate this random avatar for you, and you're going to have all these different components. And so it was very much a generative NFT, and you have the layers and all that. But it was like the very, very last part was, okay, now we can mint this on Polygon and we're just going to pay for it for you because it's literally like a penny worth of
Yeah.
Matic for us. Right. And so I was like, okay, that's all super cool. Like this was a really good example of how to expose it to potentially, a couple million people. If I'm a top Redditor, let's think Reddit has like 300 million active users. Let's say maybe the top 1%, got that. So 3 million. That's a bunch of transactions on Polygon and a bunch of effort for their infrastructure to go through and randomly mint and put piece together. But that's 3 billion people that, or maybe a couple million people who before had no interest in crypto and into
Yeah.
NFTs, into digital art, what have you, and you've exposed them at least a little bit to it in a very platform native way to Reddit and the way Reddit works. And so I thought that was really well done. And they've been very much inching towards this. Like we had donuts on r/ETH Trader, I think it was, unveiled a little while ago and things like that. And then so Reddit's I think been poking various toes into the water here and there, but I think they're starting to make a more sincere effort now, and it'll be really interesting to see how that this group of 300 million people around the world embrace or not Reddit's forays into there. um, were you granted a top Redditor award and therefore early access to the NFT avatar?
Yeah. I semi proudly can say I did. I say semi proudly because I don't know if people are proud to be extreme Redditors. But yeah, yeah, I'm part of the. I'm curious what collection you went with, because you know how it gives you like those four options. It's like meme,
Yeah,
team, squad. What did you
I
go
can
with?
I can share. I use my real name on Reddit. I have an
Oh,
alt
the
account
brave
that I
guy.
use for other things, so I'm gonna switch. But for anybody watching the video, here's a good reason. Here's a good reason to catch the video. Um, yeah, it's all good. I had like the droid,
Oh, that's a nice
the
one.
droid one there.
I like
Yeah, there we go. Anybody's
that.
watching
That's
on
a very
YouTube,
cool one.
I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, it was. Actually, I what I thought was interesting, and this happened both with my real and my alt account, is that they have like a facial thing, like eyes or smile or whatever, and
Yeah.
then this like overlay of, whether it's the mask on the robot or like a glob on one of the other ones, the other collections, and I'm like, well then, like, what do I do with this? I'm like, I really like the helmet for that robot one, so I kept it. But like, I have
Yeah.
this other layer it's enabled, but it's not visible at all. So I thought that was an interesting choice. And yeah, I guess if you really don't like the helmet or the blob or whatever else you got, a hat, and you want to expose more of the face, then you can. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I
like
thought that
kind
was
of
an interesting
one of the
choice.
issues with like layered based generative art is that you have kind of redundant features sometimes like that.
Yeah, so you don't have to show your Reddit account, but which collection did you go with?
I went with the meme team, I think it's called. Is
Yeah,
I've got I don't know, rainbow stuff, I think like a unicorn head, stuff like that.
I went with meme team for my alt account because I was like, okay, well, I already have the techno robot one, so I'll go with
Yeah,
meme team
but I
this
mean,
time.
yeah,
And
the fact that everyone could get those NFTs without paying anything, without going through the process of setting up a wallet,
yeah,
that's crazy. That's huge.
yeah,
And a lot of
yeah,
companies are doing that now, are doing the, like, we want to get people exposed to NFTs. We want them to have a really easy user experience, not have to buy, ETH or anything for gas. My brother's company, for example, he has like a platform that allows companies to like integrate their CRM with Polygon-based NFTs. So people sign up for a newsletter,
mm,
for example, and they're automatically sent an NFT on Polygon, and his platform covers the fees because it's like pennies.
right.
But I think, and he's again another one of those companies that calls it digital assets rather than NFTs. I think that's going to be the whole like wave over the next year is like kind of wrapping up the technical sides of NFTs and Web3, and getting people just familiar with owning digital assets and digital property.
Yeah. And then I think the next big thing then is like, okay, now you've exposed it to them. Now you need some utility. Now you need some use cases.
Yeah,
I was just talking to somebody at Unlock Protocol the other day. Like they have a turnkey solution for NFT based ticketing, and it's like I don't know what the price is off the top of my head, but I'm like, yeah, I'm interested in using this. I'm helping run a hackathon. Like, why not? I'd love to use. I want to dog food those things. I don't want to keep using Eventbrite
yeah,
all the
yeah. There's
time.
gonna be a lot of cool stuff like that. Like we just did an
Yeah.
integration with Versify, my brother's company. Because we have, NFT Lately is the media brand that we own. It's one of the most popular newsletters in the NFT world. And we have a referral program that we just launched like 24 hours ago. That once you refer 3 friends to the newsletter, you automatically get airdropped a Polygon-based NFT. I
Hmm.
think we're the first companies to do that, which is something that we're really excited by.
Cool. Actually, I wanted to talk about NFT lately next. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, how often does it
Yeah.
go out? What kind of topics do you cover?
Yeah, so basically we try to be like your main source, like the too long didn't read of the NFT news for the week. So it goes out twice a week, covers all the top topics in what's going on in the world of NFTs, latest drops, news, who just sold out a collection, things like that. So Tuesdays and Thursdays it goes out 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Um, we're just getting started, but we already built a really solid, really passionate community, which we're really excited by. Um, and it's something that we have pretty optimistic long-term plans with.
Okay, and like you said, you just integrated this thing so that if somebody refers 3 people, you get an NFT. Like, did you
Yeah.
have that custom design? Like, where are the NFTs coming from?
So it's Versify is the name of the platform. Um, yeah, they just went through Outlier Ventures.
Hmm,
Cool company, cool platform.
cool. I met
But yeah, I
met
think a
some
lot of
people last week, and sorry, go
it's
ahead.
it's so inexpensive and it's so I don't know like if I joined a company's newsletter and they sent me an NFT, I'd be pretty freaking thrilled. I just for the novelty of it, I think it's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we were having this conversation with Versify, we were kind of like, where can we plug this in? And then having newsletter subscribers get it for, doing something that helps the business grow and helps the community grow, it seemed like a perfect fit.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a smart thing to do, and I think we can. I think there's a lot for everybody to learn about, or from loyalty programs, the traditional ones, and how those folks get rewarded, and being able to do something a little bit different, and that benefits both sides in the long run, without having to pay 44 cents for an air mile to generate an
Yeah.
air mile in somebody's account and let them redeem that later or whatever, or how that stuff works. Um, so you've worked on a bunch of NFT collections. We were talking about how important it is for at least the founders and for the most part for the community in an NFT project to sell out within a reasonable amount of time. Probably a couple days. I think people start to freak out if it takes more than like 72 hours to sell
Yeah.
out.
Which,
Um,
before you even go into the question, that's kind of crazy. Like that, no other product in the world would have that level of expectation, right? But it is. It is
I'm
the
sure there's
expectation.
some people at Nike or Adidas, like new Nike Air Jordans or Airman now, a new collection. Like if they're doing like 500 pairs of shoes, I'm sure they want it to sell out in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, there aren't a lot of industries where like, you hope like you're going to sell out or you're going to, crowdfund, reach your crowdfund goals in like 3 days or what have you compared to
Yeah.
when it compares to an NFT project. But like, like you've done it, like when you grow the community to a certain size and, especially if the community, if the number of people following the project, engaging with it is bigger than the collection, I think it's a reasonable
Yeah.
assumption that you're going to sell out. You're gonna mint everything within a certain amount of time. But like I said, and you've probably seen before, maybe not with your own clients, but elsewhere, is like it doesn't always happen. And then people start to wonder like what happened, like where what did we miss, like what's happening. Um, so like for people who are maybe thinking of doing their own NFT collection or artists, like do you have any advice for them, whether it's like pre anything, like just like the original conception or in the marketing side of things?
Yeah. I mean, I think if there's one factor you're going to boil down, will your NFT collection be successful or not? It's going to be the size and engagement level of your community. Someone that has no community, no level of interest from the public is going to have a much harder time than someone that's already had successful drops or had success in other industries. Which is why it's so easy for companies like Nike to come into the Web3 space. They have millions of people that buy their products that will be interested
Yeah.
in kind of buying a digital product. So if I'm an NFT artist and I'm just getting started, um, I'm probably waiting to do anything NFT related until I feel I'm either plugged into a community or I've built my own community to an extent that we can monetize it and sell a digital version of my art.
Yeah.
Community first. Community is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Okay. Um, and beside, I mean, like we've been talking a little bit about, avatars and people getting NFTs for signing up for things. What do you think the future of that technology? Because it's it's useful for all sorts of things. But what do you think the future of NFTs looks like? Is it going to be more utility, more use cases? Is it more loyalty program type stuff? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, more utility is definitely, I think, going to be the theme of the next couple of years with NFTs. That's going to take a lot of different forms. I think, a lot of things that we're already starting to see things like kind of like token gating, either in real life events or digital communities. I think that's going to continue. The tools for allowing that is going to get easier to do. Right now, a lot of like Discord communities are using like collab land, for example, which isn't
Hmm.
the simplest thing to set up. Um, I think there's going to be a much bigger push into more ways to display your NFT. I think just showing your NFT in itself is a level of utility that a lot of people overlook because it doesn't exist. And it's honestly a pretty simple concept. Like if I have, I have art hanging up behind me. If I had a frame that was showing NFTs, I would put that up there.
Yeah.
Um, I used to have a Bored Ape. I sold it unfortunately, which I kick myself over all the time. But I would have had that thing everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and so the physical version of displaying NFTs, I think, is going to be big. I think that's an obvious thing that people are already working on. That's going to get more prevalent. Um, the digital display of them also, which we're already starting to see with things like Twitter, for example, integrating the ability to display your NFT as your profile picture. I think we're going to see that now across tons of social media platforms. Reddit's doing it, like we spoke about at length. Um, I think like digital assets are a flex in a sense, and and the younger generation is even more in tune with that than anyone else. They interact with each other more online than they do in person in many cases. So the ability to buy, like, let's say, whatever the next generation's version of a digital Rolex is, a kind of a status wealth symbol. Um, Once there's a way to properly display it online to everyone, it's gonna for sure be a thing. So I think, in real life events, digital events, and displays are going to be the biggest things that we see over the next couple of years.
Um, didn't Facebook just enable the ability to actually not mint, but like similar to Twitter, like make a profile photo or something like that out of NFTs? I
Yeah,
barely
I
use
believe they
Facebook.
did. Yeah, exactly. I don't use Facebook either. But I believe they did, and I know that just from reading the news, not from actually using it.
Same.
But I mean, they're going to. If they haven't yet, they're going to. There's no reason why they wouldn't. It's a no-brainer. It's what people are asking for.
Yeah. Um, I want to take a little bit of a detour here and talk about, I guess, some of crypto's core tenets and how that might collide with a really good marketer and all the tools that they use and the the data they want to collect. Actually, we see all the time now. You go to a new website and like here's your we want to put all these cookies on your computer. Please just say accept to all. So that we can
Yeah.
put 75 different cookies on your device and track you all around the web. As a digital marketer, and I know this firsthand, that's incredibly valuable information because there are very, very powerful tools out there, whether it's Google Analytics, Braze, and some others who have relationships with all those different data trackers and can provide you incredibly good data so that you can target the right folks. We saw Facebook pooping all over Apple last year because iOS 15 introduced all these new privacy features and things like that. And obviously, that was going to lead to, and I think it has led to Facebook bringing in less revenue. Certainly not losing money, but their revenue
Yeah.
dropped, and I get the emails every once in a while of like your ads could be running better if you do XYZ things, and I'm like yeah, but it and even like specifically about Apple. How do you like? It sounds like you live and breathe crypto. You understand core tenets. You're there. Like, how do you reconcile that ability and probably desire to collect as much data as possible in order to target just the right people, especially when you're trying to build an NFT community, for example, versus so many people in this space coming like wanting to use cryptocurrencies because there can be more privacy and more self-sovereignty, as you mentioned, with with regards to money and things like that.
Yeah, no, I've been asked this question a lot because it is like the most obvious, I guess, question regarding like you're a digital marketer who benefits financially from ability to custom tailor to very specific, data sets and things like that. But you're in the world of crypto, which, the core tenet of crypto is, privacy to an extent.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably the longest one, especially in the early days, which is what got me involved. Um, it's a little bit of an identity crisis, honestly, as a marketer in crypto, because like I said, you want to be able to for your clients get a really accurate audience, and that requires a little bit of what a lot of people now would consider like privacy violations or just oversharing of
Yeah.
information. Um, I lean on the side of privacy. I lean on the side of it's your data. If you don't want to share it, you shouldn't be sharing it with anyone. I think it's
Hmm.
on the next wave of marketers to just understand that you no longer have access to the data. Like what we've been doing for the past 10 years is over collecting data. I don't think anyone should be
Hmm.
entitled to that data. I think the marketers should adapt and figure out better ways to target their audience or just cast a wider net with, copy, for example, that maybe reaches a wider audience. Um, and just live that way. I think just from like a sense of social responsibility, we need to respect people's privacy, and I'm really glad that Apple is moving in that direction, and we're moving in the direction of disclosing and giving people the ability to opt in or opt out of sharing information. But it's definitely not a simple question for marketers.
Yeah, and I've struggled with this as well. Like, I would love to know exactly who's listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
and exactly who's visiting my websites and things like that. But I don't use Google Analytics because I don't want all that data cross reference against all these other places. I'd rather not have it, and I'd rather I don't know. I guess it goes back to, magazine and newspaper type advertisements where, or even TV, where you're going to cast a wider net, you're going to spend a little bit more money, but, at the same time, you might hit upon a demographic that you had no idea was interested in your thing, in your product or your service, and that could work out really well too.
Yeah, there is one thing though that I think people don't realize that comes with this wave of blocking all these cookies and enabling more privacy, which again, like I said, I'm in favor of. Um, when you're a company that's starting out, which is most companies in the crypto space, you don't have unlimited funding for marketing. Every dollar that you spend on
Hmm.
marketing needs to generate more money for the business. Doing things like casting a wide net through something, let's use your example of like magazine advertising. It's not a feasible option for most young companies. So we are in a way shifting the power to larger companies who can afford to market en masse and things like that from smaller
Right.
companies who once had a fighting chance because they can get hyper-focused data, learn about their audience, find product market fit a little more data, driven in the matter that's more data driven. So is it worth it to give up that privacy for just to give the small guy a chance to fight the big guy as far as marketing dollars and growth? I don't know. But I think just something that people should consider.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I've gotten some very weird YouTube ads
Yeah.
in the past. I'm like, this is not even close. But then I have to remind myself, like, no, I chose this. I chose. I actively chose by blocking cookies, by opting out of whatever extra tracking is asked of me online and things like that. I chose a world where I see random stuff that are just like I don't need to buy maxi pads. Like,
Yeah. No, when I see that, it's funny. I'm the same way. When I see that, I'm like a little bit, I'm like, yeah, like I'm doing my job. Like they don't know anything about me.
on the other hand, I'm like, what is this? Like, what? What algorithm thought that I was gonna want to see this ad? And then it's like, oh yeah, right. No, I literally chose this, so I'm just gonna
I
have to
think it's
deal
gonna be
with
a
it.
balancing act. Yeah, it's gonna be a balancing act of public opinion because Apple's making these moves not for any reason other than that's what the public is asking for. Um, I think the younger generation is more okay, honestly, sharing data than the older one was. Um, and I think we'll go kind of back and forth as far as like, you know what, I'm getting ads now on Instagram for something I have no interest in. I kind of do want ads for something that I'm interested in. Like I'm not totally
Yeah, yeah,
against it. Like there's a reason people watch shows like Shark Tank, for example, because they're looking at new products and stuff like that, and they want to see interesting things. Um, so it's a matter of preference, I think.
yeah. I think one thing I did unintentionally, but did actually lead to better ads targeted at me on Instagram specifically was post like a fitness related thing. Um, I joined a service. I'm following their meal plan, workout plan, etc. And when you do things like hashtag fitness, hashtag eat clean or whatever on Instagram, those are first party signals that you are literally given to Instagram then to help target you. But on the other hand, I got 3 ads in a row when I was going through my friend's stories of different probiotics that I could buy. But I was like, oh yeah, no, I actually want this. Like this is good. And so I've got like 3 different tabs open in Safari now so that I can, I've actually picked one because I'm like, yeah, I do need this. I'm trying to eat better and I want something sustainable long term. So I'm actually looking at them. But that's first party data that you literally gave to to Meta, to the Instagram team, and was used appropriately to target something fitness related to me. That's fine. I kind of forgot, but I was like, okay, yeah, no, I understand why I'm getting these ads. It was a little much because it was literally like 3 or 4 in a row, like or go through the
Yeah.
stories and it was like 3 different brands, 3 different companies, all promoting roughly the same thing. But at least I had options. Oh boy. All right. Let's get back on track here. Um, so we talked about NFTs, talked about how difficult it can be for somebody to, you can't just start an NFT collection. You really need, some eyeballs on you and your work, and ideally, you're forming a community around what you do, your style and maybe a story that you're, crafting and all that. But there are lots of other people, creators on YouTube, Patreon, TikTok these days. Coffee, buy me a coffee, all sorts of different platforms and some Web3 platforms also coming, either now or in the future. Like, where do you see that creator economy headed? I think there's been a little bit of a pullback from influencers, especially in crypto, recently, because I think it just got a little bit too shilly, from my personal
Mhm.
opinion. But that's a part of it too. So where do you see that side of things
Yeah,
headed?
I think, I mean, I think you're not going to find too many digital marketers that don't think that aren't super bullish on the creator economy, over the next 10 years. So I think it's going to explode. I think of it the same way that I think of kind of the change in trends of how marketing has operated over the past few decades. Whereas, 30 years ago, marketing was a game of pushing a message to people and then, essentially getting them to buy. Whereas now it's much more a game of like, let's build valuable content, let's get people to come to us, and then, through that process, they're going to learn about us, and then hopefully, they jive with what we're building and want to
Yeah,
something that either makes us money or moves the business forward. I think the creator economy is going to work the same way. Just like how you said, influencers are getting a really bad rap lately, because that is going again towards pushing a message out to people that don't really want it. Um, I think the whole creator economy is based on this fact that like I'm a creator, I make content, I enjoy making content, it's what I want to do for a living. I'm going to make money not through shilling projects to people. I'm going to make money through creating content and having people pay for that content. It does require though a little bit of a shift in the mindset of the consumer in that they have to understand that like good content is not free. If we're moving away from this model of pushing out like shilling and paid advertising, people have to be a little more okay with paying to support these creators, through things like newsletters and stuff like that. So we've seen the big shift to things like Substack, for example, where you can do paid newsletters. I think that's going to continue to be huge. Um, I really liked the launch of Twitter's super followers feature. If you're familiar with that, you can pay a couple dollars a month essentially to get access to exclusive tweets. So you can follow your favorite creators or influential people on Twitter, and it incentivizes them to maybe share a little bit more, maybe spend a little bit more time on the content they're creating. So I like it for a couple reasons. One, for the fact that it enables essentially the next generation to be, digital nomads, not have to have 9 to 5 jobs, just create awesome content and
yeah,
get paid doing it. The other side of that is that now there's a little bit more direct um, financial incentive for there to be the existence of quality content online, like helpful, valuable content, um, which I think is how marketing should be. It should be about providing value to people.
yeah.
So I'm excited about
You don't need to comment on this. I was just thinking, like, I think it's really funny and odd how much money probably is spent in the fragrance industry, um, because that seems to rely almost 100% on having some sort of big name celebrity in your commercial. And it's never about the fragrance, and it's never about the, it's not even really about about the celebrity, but like it's somebody, you definitely somebody you recognize, and it's always some like weird 30-second vignette about, I don't know, living the high life, I guess. And it's never, personally, it's never really, made me think like, oh, I want to buy Coco Chanel number 5 or whatever. It's like
it.
the samples work much better on me. Samples in magazines and or going somewhere and smelling something new. I'm like, oh, that smells really nice. I'm gonna buy that, as opposed to Julia Roberts is in this ad, so I'm gonna go check out Chanel number 5. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I definitely can't comment on like the fragrance industry as far as marketing there because it's probably the furthest thing possible from crypto. It's you know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
it's a fully physical product. But yeah, no, I
yeah.
also think that
It's
yeah, the concept of buying a product because an influencer's behind it or like a well-known name is behind it, it's never going to go away. It's just kind of human nature to operate that way. But I do think it's working on people a little less now than it once did. Um, but
Yeah. And as much as I'd love for somebody to pay me to endorse their product, as long as it's a product I like and use, I don't get it. It's never really something I've fully understood. Probably since, I don't know, the mid to late '90s. Like, it's just like I'm so far out of that sphere. I actively avoid celebrity gossip and all that, and there's so many famous people now, quote unquote, that like I literally have no idea who they are, and I'm
Yeah.
almost 40, and that's probably a function of that. But like I don't know. There are musicians I listen to. I have no idea what they look like. I don't go look them up. It's good music. Good enough for me. Like I'm much more interested in their output and their talent than I am in who they're dating. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
On this page.
um, so I guess like extending out everything that you've been working on, companies that you've been working with over the last few years since you started, or even before you started Coinbound, but like, especially since you started Coinbound, and so obviously you're right in the trenches, and you're trying to help promote this new set of technologies and all the use cases and all that. How do you think Web3 blockchains, cryptocurrencies, et cetera, like how do you think they're actually going to impact the future overall, and maybe specifically, where do you see the space, Web3 going over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, as far as how it's going to impact the future, it's I'm not going to say anything new. I mean, it enables cross-border payments immediately. That's huge. It enables just decentralized transactions, which is huge. Smart contracts, obviously, one of probably the biggest innovations in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Um, it just enables a whole new wave of technology to exist. Um, Someone was asking me recently, like, when is the next bull run going to happen? And I was kind of laughing because, like, obviously I don't know and no one knows. But I know it's going to be, and most people would agree, it's going to be based on whatever the next like big technological advancement is that can make people money. Like it was NFTs, most recently. Um, so that I think is going to be huge. I have no idea what that's going to be yet. I could only guess. There was a lot of like murmurings lately as far as like soulbound tokens being like the next big thing, but that really,
Mm-hmm.
just how bull markets work, that's not really possible because soulbound tokens can't be sold or traded. Um, but it's going to just enable just a little bit more of a global economy, a little bit more global economic situation. Um, Shift the power from the powerful to a more distributed model, which is nice. Um, yeah, I think you had a second part to that question. I'm just forgetting what it was.
Just specifically about the crypto industry, but I think you already talked about that a little bit. But yes, I've seen soulbound tokens in action. I was at GraphHack back in San Francisco, Graph Day, in June, and I actually talked to a team called Soulbound Labs, and about what they're building. I think that's super cool. But yeah, the whole point is that it's yours and it stays with you. It's not something you can like build up and resell. At least it shouldn't be, because that would, I also spoke to some people who were like, it'd be super cool if you could like build up a reputation and then sell it off. And I said, no, that's awful.
Yeah.
Don't.
So,
Like, that's the exact opposite of what you should be able to do. Like build up this like it's like Newt Gingrich in the '90s, like building up this reputation and then selling it off to Donald Trump like 20 years ago. Like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. Like, come on.
there's definitely a trend in our industry of um, asking what's possible and not why we would want to do it.
Yeah,
And
whether you
like
should.
that.
Like just
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
possible doesn't mean you should do it. Yes, I could build up a
Yeah,
reputation on Quora, and sell it off to somebody else, but that is literally against their terms of service. It's you end up selling it to somebody who's then abuses that profile probably and all that. Like you can,
yeah,
but should you? And
yeah.
my answer then was absolutely not.
Yeah, Web3 doesn't need to be involved in everything in our lives. Like I've
That
been in the
too.
game long enough to want it to be, but know that it doesn't need to be, and it's much better as a supplement to our current culture rather than totally replacing it. Not everything has to be adapt.
No, yeah, we're definitely getting to that point of yes, we can decentralize this, but should we? Um,
Yeah,
and I every once in a while we are gonna, I think, end up with an answer of no, we shouldn't. It's fine the way it is, or we don't need to shift the power dynamics in that particular protocol or industry or what have you.
yeah. I mean, that's
Um,
exactly what 2017 and 2018 told us as far as everyone trying to launch an ICO, and then offered essentially was everyone learned about decentralization and tokens as a way to do that. And then 99.9% of them failed because the market said, this isn't really that big of an improvement for this particular business model.
yeah, And I know a few who literally like they're still going. They've still got cash. They're still building.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years, and they have a little bit to show for it in some cases, and some have almost nothing to show for it. For a variety of reasons. Like
Yeah,
I
raising
know a
money and
project.
building a product are not necessarily the same skill set for a lot of people.
No, I know a project who literally just settled with the SEC a couple months ago, and so now they can actually start to use their token again because that was on hiatus for like the last 4 years
Mhm.
for legal reasons. But yeah. Um, and what about from Coinbound? You guys have obviously your core marketing services. You've got the newsletter. What can we look forward to from Coinbound over the next year or so?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of core thesis of Coinbound as an organization is just help crypto companies grow, via whatever means possible. So, the Web3 marketing playbook, like I said, it hasn't necessarily been written. We've been doing our best to write it through, I have a podcast and we'll go over different like topics on crypto marketing every week, things like that. Just kind of share the insights of what we're seeing. The reason we do that so frequently and put so much content out is, um, like it changes so frequently. And that's another difference between the Web3 marketing playbook and the Web2 is Web2. It's like kind of the same, run some Facebook advertising, do SEO, post on social media, do email newsletters, whatever. With Web3, it changes honestly by the month. So we're gonna, as far as Coinmon goes, we're gonna continue to constantly keep our ear to the ground regarding what is working for clients, what's helping them grow, what are the upcoming trends, and be the first to capitalize on that and build out a platform for companies to explore that. Beyond that, I mean, that's kind of, our core business. NFT is going to continue to grow. We're, pumping tons of money and resources into building that up as like the go-to media company in the world of NFTs. Um, and then another initiative that we just launched, which we're really excited by, is a platform called, or it's an organization actually, CEC. It's for Web3 like founders and executives to just network with each other. So, the
Oh,
same
cool.
reason you would go to a conference to meet people, not all people want to travel and things like that. So CEC is a great platform. We do, it's super exclusive, meaning like you have to be, pretty accomplished to get in. We do like a members only monthly meetup event virtually, in Telegram chat, just kind of build these kind of like sounding boards for people to get feedback from each other and explore partnerships and synergies. Again, we're just trying to help crypto companies grow, and we think a networking piece is a big piece of that. Um, so I'd say those are our big initiatives over the next year, um,
Cool.
and we're really excited about them.
Good. To wrap this up, where should people go to learn more about Coinbound and maybe to check in on anything you're writing or saying online?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super active on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Ty Daniel Smith. You could also follow Coinbound is at CoinboundIO. Our website, obviously, coinbound.io. And then if you want to follow NFT Lately, the best thing to do is just join the newsletter. NFTlately.com is the site there.
Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot for your time. For everybody listening and watching, I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, stay free.